The last week of bills going through the Senate, we were on deadline week, as you all well know. I stayed here late last night before last, and got through, I think, a pretty large amount of bills. The House is still in right now, so they're still working on it. We'll have a lighter week next week, probably not any committee work, but we'll be doing some resolutions and cleanup work, and then we'll start back up in earnest the week after with committees. So with that, I'm happy to take questions.
Barbara, she's actually meeting, so she's still, yeah, it was working on. Well, I'll ask one.
Sure.
Okay. The pro tem was asked a little bit about some of the budget stuff and the, what am I going to say, the elimination of the car use tax or whatever it was, I guess. And I think Barbara said that was about a $148 million impact, and then the House is going to send over a couple, the elimination of corporate income tax over 5 years, and then the step down on the personal income tax, and I haven't reviewed actually what the exact language is on that. What are your thoughts about this? I mean, on the one hand, as a person who may have owned a business at a time in their life or something like that, it could be a giant pain. On the other hand, you're on the A&B committee, right? So what are your thoughts?
Well, the information from what they're doing on the House, I was told just a few minutes ago that the Speaker ran an income tax bill, restoring the EITC. I haven't seen it. That was the first I'd even heard of it. Evidently, it cleared the floor of the House. So I'm going to be very interested in doing a deep dive with that bill and taking a look at it. From what I understand, it was not exactly what everyone was expecting. So I also asked about, I believe the Speaker was running a corporate income tax reduction over the next, that would go into place over the course of the next 5 years. That was being run when we finally adjourn this afternoon. So I'm looking forward to looking at both of those. We're going to really do a deep dive and make sure that it's everything that it's being touted to be. And the second part of your question, Trace, you asked about the automobile tax.
Yeah, and just the state revenue picture in general. Is it time to do this sort of stuff, or does it give you pause?
Well, the budget's our number one responsibility. We should have been looking at the budget the entire time. We should be looking at how much is coming in, which I think Senator Thompson does a pretty good job of. He keeps us well informed of what we're looking at on a week-to-week basis. But we also need to be looking at what's going out. The income tax on the automobiles that we voted on 2 nights ago was a regressive tax that Democrats voted against 4 years ago or 3 years ago, whenever it went into place in the first place. So we were okay voting to repeal that. But the thing is that you can't just stop a revenue stream without replacing it, and that's been the problem. We don't have a big picture view on how much is going out and how much is coming in. We see more and more income tax reductions, more and more rebates back to businesses, and we've seen that this session as well as the other sessions in the past. So when you have a governor that's talking about discontinuing a revenue stream with income tax, it's just like, well, why would we even consider doing that when we don't have enough money as it is, and we're still reeling from COVID? We still have a lot of bills to pay. We've still got a Medicaid expansion to put forth. So we're really getting mixed messages from this legislature on what's important and what we need to be doing about revenue.
Just one thing to add, but I think it's the same question.
I can't read that from here, I'm sorry.
That was what you just answered. I guess I would ask, there were a couple articles that I think other folks had written recently about, they took a look at the pro tem that had an interim study on police reform. And, I think in the House there was some bipartisan effort in the interim. but really nothing has been presented, or nothing has gotten hearings late on that issue. In the last 13 days, we've had 2 separate charges filed against Oklahoma City Police Department officers for shootings. I don't know if you've looked at those cases very much or what your conversations have been with the community, but how does an issue like that go from such a heightened sense of scrutiny 6 months ago to there not even being a vehicle alive in the legislature right now that would do much on the topic of police accountability?
The response that we've seen in the legislature from the Republicans has been to run a lot of gun bills, and more than we usually see. I acknowledge it's Oklahoma. I understand that. I choose to live here. I love this state. I was born and raised here. But gun bills are just something that the majority does. We've seen more gun bills this year. We've seen but public safety, and as far as what we're going to do to really address the issue of fairness in our communities, weighing out what the people need for protection, but also, what police need to do to respect the interest of the citizens they serve. We were expecting and hoping for a robust dialogue about that, and we just haven't seen it. Instead, we see gun bills. We see bills that have been run to basically break up citizens' rights to free speech, and the irony of it is they call those bills free speech bills. We've seen bills regarding sanctuary cities. We've seen all sorts of bills that address absolutely no problem we have in this state. It's in direct response to what some of the members have against a grudge against, I think, probably the federal government. And it's just, we're spending time and frankly revenue, because it costs money to run a bill, addressing issues that we just don't have in the state right now. The issues we have in the state right now are how are we going to expand Medicaid? How are we going to get our budget in line and get the state funded for a year? Those are two of the biggest issues we've got. That's what we should be focused on. That's what we should be working on. And third, education. It's always at the end of the list as far as funding, but it's always at the top of the list as far as discussion. Everybody's an education advocate until it's time to vote for the budget.
Yes, Senator.
How are you?
Good. Yeah, I was hoping to get a comment from you. I don't know if you heard the governor's remarks today, but he basically believed. He basically believed.
Come on, Sean. Sorry,
This is work. Okay. Well. Pardon?
You sound
the governor today basically,
Sorry, time's up.
he basically indicated that he thinks that he made all the right decisions when it came to reopening our economy, and that they did a fantastic job, better than almost every other state, and just was very pleased with his performance and how they've handled the reopening of the economy. But given the fact that more than 7,000 Oklahomans lost their lives, I know I've seen some of the correspondence that you sent to the governor when he was making these decisions, urging him to be more cautious. How would you characterize the governor's approach to handling this pandemic?
Well, any amount of deaths is tragic, and we've had a higher rate than lots of states. So I think that the measuring stick for success and how we've handled COVID shouldn't be the first measuring stick. Should not be how early did we reopen business. The first test we should look at, the first numbers we should look at, is how many lives did we save and how many lives did we lose. That should be the most important stat we look at, and we didn't do well in that area. So I would not consider that a success. As far as reopening business, to be frank with you all, the cities, the larger cities that took the lead at the very beginning when we didn't have any leadership as far as mandates and social distancing and businesses opening and businesses closing, had the cities not taken the reins and exercised local control, we wouldn't be nearly as far down the road as we are right now. And I think that you need to look at the medical community. I mean, these are the successes we've had. Our medical community has stepped up to the plate And those people are exhausted. They're just exhausted. It's been a year now. So those are our successes. So I would respectfully disagree with the governor's characterization that we've done a great job.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
2 or 3 bills from your caucus that have advanced to the other side now that you want to make sure the public knows about?
Can they both be my bills? Can they be both? Can both of them be my bills?
I think they elected you leader of your caucus for a reason, so yeah, check yourself out.
I was very pleased how hard my caucus worked to get their bills through committee and to get them on the floor, to get them off the floor. I don't think any Democrat bills that we had on the floor died. I think they all passed, didn't they? So I think my caucus is doing a really, really good job. We are focused on education. I ran a couple of bills that were focused on, one on domestic violence and one on suicide prevention. Senator Dossett JJ ran a bill today. Justin, help me out on that one. Dossett's bill?
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
That one wasn't heard.
JJ Dossett almost ran a bill today on the floor. It wasn't heard. Senator Matthews ran a bill that was heard, and which will be very beneficial to his district. So I think, and Senator Hicks got a bill off the floor today regarding pharmaceuticals and prices on pharmaceuticals, which got a very strong support from Senator McCourtney, who is chair of Health and Human Services. I mean, he spoke on the floor in favor of it, very impassioned for about 10 minutes. So I think that we've run some really good bills. I think they're substantive bills. We didn't spend a whole lot of time on fluff. So I think my caucus has been very focused. Anything else?
I told her to just call her.
Oh, okay. Is she having, are we having? Okay. Go back to the office and give her a call? Great. Thank you all. Anything else? Nope? Okay. Have a good weekend.